Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Robin's Nest. The numbers are officially in for the IndyCar race at Milwaukee last weekend. The numbers, viewership-wise, ratings-wise, are essentially flat, meaning that the proof is in the pie, as they say. I think they say that. Is that an actual phrase, or did I just make that up? I may have just made that up. I'm not really sure. I don't think that's the right way. Anyways, it doesn't matter. Point is, the ratings are, there was no bump one way or the other. They were essentially flat, which means that people still watch racing even after the championship is wrapped up. You don't need to look any further. This is the, well, it's just the proof that we needed. You know, everyone's been saying, most of us, when I say us, I mean people on my side of the fence, this side of the argument, which is playoffs don't belong in motorsports. You don't need them. You just don't. Because most people just want to watch racing. You know, most people watching racing want to watch racing. They don't care if the championship is on the line. That stuff is typically, it's always been just a byproduct of the individual races. And yes, I talked about this the other day, but now that we have proof, now I'm going back down that rabbit hole. You don't need playoffs, okay? You just don't. Like I said, people want to watch racing, and you look at what Christian and Alex did at the end of that race. Alex is already a champion. He's already got it wrapped up. He was banging wheels with Christian in an Indy car for the win there at the end of that race. So I think just all around, from a fan's perspective, from a driver's perspective, from a team's perspective, you know, the championship is important, obviously. Is that, you know, if it gets wrapped up 2 weeks earlier, 2 rounds earlier, is that the end of the season? No. Come on. It's nonsense. So NASCAR, come on, get with the freaking program. Like, open your eyes and see what's going on around you. Okay? Anyways, if you enjoy listening to me ramble about motorsports, cars, anything else I feel like talking about, make sure to like, subscribe, leave a comment, turn on notifications. The works. If you're interested in diecast cars, t-shirts, hats, auto parts, anything like that, check out our eBay. The link is in the description. Follow me on Facebook and X. Post motorsports content daily, all day. It's a lot harder to spit out than you'd think. Anyways, those links are in the description as well. Without further ado, let's get into the rest of the video. So, you know, I go on this tangent about playoffs all the time, but I mean, it's one of those things. Is there another professional sport series on this planet that you can think of off the top of your head where you say, you know what, they have issues with their championship, and once it comes down to decision time with said championship, that's all you hear about is frustration from people online, you know, in person, about the championship format. I mean, is there another sport where this much controversy is generated based on the championship format? No. I just answer that for you. No, there is not. Playoffs are, in motorsports, they're a gimmick. Okay, they just don't work. It makes no sense. And I was talking the other day about some of the terminology that's being used, you know, like playoffs. You know, you can't have playoffs in a sport that doesn't have plays, okay? It just doesn't make sense. But NASCAR made a post last night on X. It was like, I guess what happened last year with Chase Briscoe. I guess he won Darlington. They said something about a walk-off win. A walk-off win. What does that mean? Okay? What does that mean in motorsports in particular? I know what it means in baseball, but what does it mean in motorsport? It doesn't mean anything. It's a nothing burger. It's nonsense. It's just a stupid buzz phrase that it's not applicable to racing. Number one, you're not walking anywhere. Okay. And then what goes into what actually is a walk-off win in baseball is not applicable to NASCAR. It's not applicable to any motorsports category. Okay? The TV, the NBC, Fox, and what have you, they're trying so hard to make NASCAR something that it's not. They're trying to turn it to a ball sport, to the point where we're just piggybacking phrases, from other sports entities or series, ball sports in particular. The thing is, NASCAR will never be a ball sport, no matter how much you want it to be. It will never be. And it makes no sense to bring this crap over here and try to cram it down people's throats. How many people are watching baseball and turning baseball off to flip over and watch NASCAR? How many diehard MLB fans are also diehard NASCAR fans? Now, there are some, no doubt. But is that a majority of people? I would wager probably not. It's just it's annoying. Why can't we, as a series, NASCAR, as a series, why can't they have something that's their own? Why can't we be proud of what we have? As opposed to trying to make it into something that someone else has. What's wrong with what we have? Like the chase. What was wrong with that? Why did we have to change it to playoffs? And this is not anything new for me, because I thought from the moment playoffs were announced, which I kind of lump it all in together. Like the chase was playoffs as well, a format of playoffs. It's all the same thing. It's a little different because they tweaked it, but it's the same general concept. But regardless, there was nothing wrong with the chase. The term, the chase. It was unique unto NASCAR. Why can't we have that? The walk-off win thing. I'm sorry, I don't mean to harp on that, but it is one of the most annoying things I've ever heard in my life. Just stop that nonsense. Stop it. Just stop it. Okay? I hear sirens going off. It's not good. We live in the country, so maybe you hear ambulance sirens. Something bad's usually happen. But my point is that just NASCAR, just be yourselves, man. Be proud of what you have. In that post on social media, what it shows to me is, at the very least, they have probably people from my generation or the generation behind me operating their social media page, and just repeating nonsense buzz phrases and not thinking twice about it. But then you look at the comment section on that post, and most everyone's got the same thought, which is, it's just dumb. Stop saying it, okay? Stop it. I want to talk about WRC because Dirtfish had posted I guess their staff were making their picks for who's going to win the championship this year. And I've kind of touched on this before, but they've got a rally coming up this weekend, by the way. I can't pronounce exactly where it's at, but it's the first time they've held a rally there. Sebastian Ogier was several of the staff's picks to win the championship this year. My thought on that is, how can someone who's missed rallies be in contention for the championship? You know what I mean? It makes sense with the format that you're using, and I'm glad that they're using a full season format. That's the route to go in motorsports, obviously. But you still have an issue, in my view, in my mind, if a guy can show up and not run every rally and still come out there and have a shot at winning the championship. And by the way, he's not won every rally that he's been in either. It's not like he's shown up and he's won everything outright, so that's why he's in contention. He hasn't. And everyone else is still running the full season. So, yeah, like I said, in my view, there needs to be some tweaking by the FIA. If you miss a rally, well, it ought to be set up and structured in such a way that it kind of self-polices. Where, as the sanctioning body, the FIA doesn't have to actually do anything other than change the format slightly. Don't do playoffs or nonsense like that. Just make it to where if you miss a rally, you're in such a deficit point-wise that the championship is over for you. Like, you have no shot at winning it. That's the way it should be. That's the way it normally has been in full season championships. Anyways, it's just a self-policing thing. You miss a race, a rally, what have you. That's it for you, for that year. And that's the way it should be. It reminds me the way that this is going on with Seb is back in, I think it's 2015, where in NASCAR, Kyle Busch missed a quarter of the season and still won the championship. Now, I have nothing against Kyle personally, but I think that year was kind of farcical, I think across all of motorsports, if you miss a round, a race, a rally, whatever you call it, you should be out of the championship for the season, in my view. Now, will WRC do anything to change that? I don't know, because the format that they're using now is relatively new. I think they brought it in, 2 years ago? Something like that. I think they honestly have far greater issues to focus on right now, which is the lack of OEM support for Rally 1. I'm going to beat that horse till it's completely dead, because you have three OEMs involved right now, okay? And the difference is, for all the people that watch this that are NASCAR fans, the difference between the two is, in WRC1, you have Toyota, Hyundai, Ford, okay? Hyundai and Toyota, they'll run 3 to 4 cars usually. Every once in a while, maybe more than that. But for the most part, 3 to 4 cars. Ford runs 3. 2, usually 3, here and there. All of those teams are factory teams. Ford doesn't get quite as, M Sport doesn't get quite as much from Ford as what Hyundai and Toyota get from their parent companies. But the point is that they're still all factory teams. In NASCAR, you have Chevrolet, Toyota, Ford, soon to be Dodge, but as of right now, it's those 3. You have varying levels of factory support for each one of the teams. Okay, so like Colleague, for example, they just announced that Dodge is going to be the flagship team in Dodge. They're going to run apparently 5 trucks next year. But I'm assuming they're still going to run Chevrolet in Xfinity and Cup. And a lot of people were asking me, they're like, well, how is that possible? How can you do that or whatever? If you don't get any factory support from Chevrolet, then it doesn't matter. You can run a Chevrolet all you want. If you're not getting any factory support from them, I'm assuming the only thing you have to go through is the licensing. There's a bug flying around. Licensing to run the bow tie. I'm assuming that's all you have to do, but point being is that there's varying levels of factory support. WRC is not that way, okay? And you don't have really any independents running. In NASCAR, you have teams like BJ McLeod, Colleague, up until, I think it was last year, Front Row was basically an independent. WRC, there aren't any. There's I can't remember the guy's name. It was an Italian guy. He was running a Toyota, and he was an independent. And he'd show up and run here and there, but excluding 1 or 2 outliers, there's no independence. Okay, it's just a full factory effort, and so it's just there's not depth, and without depth, you can't have longevity. Okay, so I know they kicked the can down the road with the rule changes, and they're talking about, maybe in 2027, I think is when the current agreement ends. Maybe they'll bring Rally 1 back down to Rally 2 standards, and they'll be kind of on level footing. We'll see. I hope that's the case, because Skoda runs in WRC 2. And Skoda is owned by Volkswagen. I used to live in Germany, okay? I used to pronounce it correctly. It's been a long time. But anyways, they're owned by VW. And VW's been gun-shy about going back in the top step of Rally. They were in Rally back in the early teens. And then Dieselgate happened, and then they ended up pulling out of the sport. But they've been there with Skoda. And there's factory support there. I don't know how much it is, but there's factory support for Skoda. And Citroen is also in Rally 2. Citroen was in Rally 1. They ended up scaling back and going down to Rally 2. There's some factory support there as well. But what would be really cool is to see both Skoda and Citroen back in the top level of the World Rally Championship, World Rallycross too. I think they're already there, but regardless, it'd be cool to see him on the top step of WRC in the top category competing. I'm a huge Skoda fan. If you don't know that, if you haven't followed this channel for long, massive Skoda fan. So I'd love to see that happen. Speaking of international sports, so Formula One, Cadillac, brand new team starting next year. If you've been living under a rock and you haven't seen it, yeah, it was going to be Michael Andretti's team with Cadillac going into the sport. Formula One, the FIA, they all didn't. Well, the FIA didn't really care, but I guess people in Formula One didn't want Michael involved, so Michael fell off the project. And as soon as that happened, lo and behold, oh yeah, Cadillac, GM, y'all can come in. So, anyways, they announced that Sergio Perez and Valtteri Bottas is going to be the two drivers next year. And a lot of people are up in arms, like, why? It's an American team. Why didn't you hire American drivers? Well, you gotta take a step back and look at it like this. Okay, A, how many American drivers have enough points on their super license to race in Formula One? Because you have to have a super license. I don't know offhand how many do, but also you got to take into consideration how many have super license points that are ready to race in Formula One. You know, you look at Colton Herta. I don't think he has enough points on his super license, number one, but he hasn't really. I mean, he may be ready to jump straight into Formula One. I personally don't think he is. You know, now there's a rumor being kicked around that he's going to go through the ladder system in Formula One and come up. I think that's a better idea. But yeah, you just got to go with what's available to you. And he's only going to be a year out of the car. Valtteri's been a reserve driver for Mercedes. So he's been in and around the sport still, you know, since he was released from Sauber. I don't think that's a bad, you know, with the options that you have, I don't think that's a bad choice. But the thing is, too, you got to go into this realistically. You can't expect Cadillac to come straight out of the gate and be ready to take it to McLaren and Red Bull. That's almost certainly not going to happen. Now, it may. There's been some crazy stuff happen over the years, you know. Braun GP comes to mind immediately. You know, that team was, Honda before 2009. And then they sold the team to Ross Braun. They had to get a different engine supplier. The car wasn't really structured around I think it was Mercedes that they put in the car. The chassis wasn't really structured around that engine. So they made it work. They made it fit. And lo and behold, they ended up having the fastest race car, at least for the first half of the season. But that's all they needed. You know, you win enough races, get enough of a points lead, and just kind of hang around for the second half of the season, and you're going to win the championship. And that's what they did. But, you know, stuff like that's happened. I'm not expecting that out of Cadillac. Just to be clear, I don't see that happening. If it does, I'll be the first to admit, hey, I'm wrong. And I'll be glad to actually be wrong, because I'd love to see an American team go in there and, you know, whip some of those. Some of the teams that have been around for a long time, like McLaren. Which, I mean, McLaren is run by an American, Zach Brown, and I like Zach Brown. So, kind of I don't know. It would just be cool to see it happen. You know, just see him go back and forth. But I think it's going to take a couple of years, and I think, you know, I don't remember which engine they're going to be using, but they're not going to have their own engine. They're not going to be their own engine supplier, I think, until they said like 28 or something like that. Which would be cool. Hopefully they stick around for that long. GM has been known to be flimsy, you know, when it comes to commitments over the years, certain commitments. Formula One's one of those where you've seen several manufacturers come in, not stay very long, and leave. But there's been others that have come in and stuck around for a long time. So, you know, look at Renault. They came in and whipped everybody, left, came back to Alpine. At least, did they leave? They may not have left. Don't quote me on that. Regardless, it has happened a couple of times. But they're making a huge investment, you know, with the shop being built or the factory being built, whatever you want to call it. building cars, hiring drivers. Hiring drivers ain't cheap, by the way. I don't know if y'all know that or not. Especially in Formula 1. You have to pony up, man. Especially if you want to get the best of the best, or the best that's available. You know, like I said, it ain't cheap. But I think the $1 million question about Valtteri being hired on by Cadillac is, will Cadillac force Valtteri to cut the mullet? Will they do that? I think they should. Me personally. I think they should. I'm not a mullet guy, you know? I think it died off in the early 90s for a reason. It's awful. Okay? It's terrible. The fact that I kind of have one right now, ignore that, okay? That's immaterial. Anyways, if you enjoy listening to me ramble, make sure to like, subscribe, leave a comment, turn on notifications. Share this video, tell your friends, shout it from the rooftops. Be much appreciated. If you're interested in diecast cars, t-shirts, hats, auto parts, anything like that, check out our eBay. The link is in the description. Follow me on Facebook and X for more motorsports content. Got it out that time. Those links are also in the description. As always, thanks for watching. Till next time, we'll see you. God bless. Peace.